welcome to some and welcome back to a few. I ramble review, it's what I do. And today I'm here with Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. I did enjoy this book, and I want to make that really clear going into this review. It was fast paced, it was dark, it had a fascinating lesbian romance. It didn't live up to what I had hoped it would, in a lot of different ways, honestly. It is a fairy tale deconstruction. The idea being that Cinderella has been dead for 200 years, and now women are forced to appear at these balls that the king holds to be selected by their husbands, who may use and abuse them as they see fit. The women have no say. This actually was a really good dystopian setup. And because it is a dystopian that is a fairy tale reconstruction, there's a couple of things here and there that I expect and simply forgive. Like, they're just givens to the type of story that the writer is telling. I'm not going to harp on them a bunch, even if I do bring them up. That said, my issues are fairly simple. First is that all men are just going with it, it seems like to me. There are two male characters in the story who seem like fairly decent individuals. One who turns out to be a gay male who just basically isn't really in the story. We meet him and then he's gone, and then we see him again right before the end of the story. And the other, which is a family member of the main character, and he suffers from sort of the same issue. We meet him, he's gone, and we'll sort of hear about him at the end of the story. I get that the men are hardly the point of this story. It is largely a female's taking back their own power kind of tale. It would have been nice to have a male character go on this journey with the main characters. They didn't even necessarily need to be a human character. I would have settled for giving them an animal sidekick that happened to be male. Like, something, guys, really. Added to that, the couple of twists that the story has are exceptionally predictable. This was fine for a first read, honestly, and I expected out of a fairy tale deconstruction that there are certain elements that are going to appear. I can't talk about them in depth because I want this to be a spoiler-free review, but believe me, within the first 50 pages you will know what twists I'm talking about, because you too will be predicting them. That said, I still enjoyed the twists. I was very glad to see that my predictions were correct, and I want to believe that it is possible that I've just read so many of these types of stories that the foreshadowing really tipped me off, and that another reader will not find it as predictable. So, fingers crossed, guys. That said, if those were the only issues with the books, I would still probably give it a 5-star review for having definitely surpassed what it seemed to set out to do. But the other issues were huge and glaring for me, took it down to a 3.5 star review in my actual notebook. I think I will be putting it as a 4-star on Goodreads because it doesn't give me an option for half stars, and I prefer to round up. The lesbian romance I had looked so forward to in this story is just as fast-paced as the rest of the story. They basically fall in love because they happen to be in the same place at the same time, and happen to be lesbians living in a world that happens to hate women. I'm not given a lot of reasons to believe these characters would have fallen in love if they had met, say, at the coffee shop down the road from me. They don't actually seem that compatible. They just seem to be what was available to each other. know that's a fairy tale thing too, but I wanted more. I really, really wanted more. Like, my biromantic heart needed it, and it wasn't there. um, I did think the powers and weaknesses of the antagonist were a little contrived, not a big deal for the type of story it is. Outside of all that, as I said at the beginning of this, I actually did like this book. I do not know if I will be rereading it. I want to reread it at some point and hope its rereadability turns out to be higher than I'm expecting. However, I do know I have a friend who was planning to read it. I'm going to let her have a read through of it and see if she comes to the same conclusions I did, if she sees some of the events differently, and, hopefully have someone to discuss this with. So that was Cinderella is Not Dead. Or Cinderella is Dead, pardon me. I've said that so many times. By Kaylin Payron. Everyone, have a wonderful day whenever you find this, and keep reading. Bye!